Hey, everybody, welcome back to another live stream with the Shower Door Professionals on Facebook. This is awesome. I mean, this is the best way to spend a Wednesday afternoon, evening, if you are in the biz. And I know that you are. So thanks for joining us. I was looking at the group and it's like, I noticed that there were like 3,860 members.
Wow.
That's crazy. They're coming in like in droves. Just about every day I have to like screen people. I don't screen them very closely. I'm just looking for them to answer like the minimum amount of questions. But it's pretty cool. People like being here. And just looking at some posts in the group. There are some great posts in there, cool questions. It's really cool. Like sometimes I'll see someone post a question, like a guy posted a photo of a layout for a mirror. I was just asking about, deductions and stuff. And I see a post like that and I think, oh, this poor guy, man, is about to get totally roasted, you know? And then I look at the responses, man, and everybody's like really cool and helpful, and the people are just answering the question. And I think, wow, man, that makes me really proud, to be a part of such a cool team. A lot of times we're talking where we get on these co-op calls, which I missed this week. Sorry, guys. I hope that went well. I'm sure Christina can give you an update here in a minute. But one of the things we talk about is just competition, and it's like, how much do we really want to tell, about our like secrets and our processes and stuff. I mean, we like sharing stuff, but some stuff's pretty personal. And no, I don't think anybody really tells everything, right? But most of us really are willing to share a lot of information about, what we've learned and little tips and tricks and how to avoid pitfalls and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool. I mean, you really can be pretty open about your business and stuff, and everybody benefits from it. And I find that even I do. When I share stuff, it's like it all comes back. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. So anyway, getting back to Christina. What's going on, Christina? What happened? Anything happen on Tuesday? What did I miss?
Shannon and I had a really productive call without the boys. No, I'm just kidding. Shannon and I had a great little chat about all kinds of things, and primarily talking about the offering. What is the co-op offering? And I think we've gone around a little bit in circles on what the price point for, and I guess, entry would be, because the definition of a co-op is one member, one share, one vote. And it's just a member-owned organization is really what it is. But essentially, we're all going into business together as, trusted, verified partners. And without going, too much into it, there's a membership fee, and we just have to figure out what would be worthwhile to everybody, and what makes this package deal enticing to the group. And I think that we've come up with a really great list, although there's so much opportunity that we have to narrow it down to what's possible with just our little group. But I also think that a lot of people have reached out and asked how they can help. So if anybody's reached out and asked how they can help, we have ideas, we have things that we definitely are going to need help with. And the first one is going to be, vetting members. So we'll go much more into depth on this, but we have a really nice little package put together, very fair pricing, and I think you all are going to be really happy with what we've worked on so far. And if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, that's okay. We'll talk about it this summer. And there's a call from last October, I think, as well. And, you know, we've got some really big things coming for our group.
Awesome. I know it's true. And like you're talking about like vetting members, like I was just talking about the Facebook group. So like we'll do a little bit better job at vetting each other, in co-op than I do in the Facebook group. I figure it's like, hey, if they answer the questions right, I'll let them in. You can always just kick them out.
Well, and just to make sure that it's not like super, like we're not trying to exclude people, but we do want to make sure that the people who are a part of the co-op are, serious shower door professionals who have, worked in this business for a while, know their stuff. It's not just a onesie twosie. It's not a chuck in a truck. It's, somebody who's really like made their living doing shower doors. And I think that that's really important for business owners to touch base with business owners who have the same values and things in mind.
Absolutely. I mean, for a number of reasons. I mean, just for the fact that, do you want to be associated? Do you want to be in a group with people who have been checked out and stuff like that? And if you're going to refer somebody, you want to make sure that you're referring somebody you know, who's decent and all that. I mean, it's common sense. But that's awesome. Thanks so much for doing that. And like, even if I don't make it, it's like the show goes on. Love it.
Barely. We missed you, Chris.
I missed you too. But duty called, man. I had to be out on a job. There's like, just needed that little extra something, and I had it. That little extra something. That's all I had, but I did have it. So yeah. So anyway, there you go. That's a great start to a fantastic Wednesday call. So who's got something that they want to talk about?
I got a question. Is there any elaboration to this secret society? Because I have no idea what we're talking about.
Awesome.
Yes. Great question. I definitely don't want to steal the call because there are plenty of other things we can talk about, but there is a call from last October that elaborates on this. There's a whole PowerPoint presentation, and I would recommend going back and looking at that. But essentially, we would like to make this group, very long story short, we'd like to make this group into a cooperative, which, if you're not familiar with a cooperative business model, it's like Ace Hardware, for example, or even REI is a co-op. It's member owned, and it's just essentially like an association like NARI or NKBA, but it's all member owned and operated. It's not for profit. It's just by all of our powers combined, we're able to kind of show up next to big box stores or like a Dreamline, for example, or Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. And it started out as like a marketing. The intention was marketing, just to show up as a referral network. So we were going to have a website that if somebody searches shower doors, they find the Shower Door Professionals Cooperative, and they can click on that and find a shower door professional in their area, somebody who's vetted, certified, a member of NGA, whatever our criteria is. We have like a whole list. And then it just elevates our industry by certified professionals being put forward like that.
Yeah.
Next to like Home Depot, a lot of.
Now, Christina, I think, I'm not sure, but I thought you said it was going to replace this group. I think it's in addition to this group. At least that was my original intent on it. But it's people who are focusing primarily on just shower doors would be one of the criterias for being a part of the co-op, and it would be something where we all pay to get into, and then we would have a marketing arm to be able to, like Christina said, compete against the big box stores. Because so if anybody's looking for a shower door, they could be in Kansas or any state, and the cooperative would get that lead and then disseminate the lead to whoever's the closest co-op member, basically, is how that would work.
Yeah, and that's just one of
That's how it
many
originated.
Yeah.
things, you know,
And
that
other benefits as well, yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, so did I misspeak? Or, I mean, the Facebook group remains the Facebook group, and I'm sure not everybody would be a candidate necessarily for the co-op.
Yeah, like I was kind of saying when we launched here, I've got a pretty low bar, you know, to get into the group. Now I just we ask a couple of questions, basically, you know, how are you associated with the glass industry? You know, what do you know, and do you agree to follow the rules? And that's basically it. And the rules, there's, you know, just a few rules, basically like, you know, don't be a jerk, you know, don't run a bunch of ads and stuff. They don't want a bunch of like, you know, these overseas hardware manufacturers, you know, the people I'm talking. They want to come in and just spam and post a bunch of, you know, ads about, you know, buy my hardware or whatever. We sell you glass very cheap. So I don't want a bunch of those ads. So it's like, you know, basically very minimal things. So the co-op is going to be way more selective, and there's going to be a much higher bar to get into that. So naturally, we're going to, you know, keep this, you know, because we want to include everybody in the industry, whether they can get into the co-op or even interested in the co-op, you know. So yeah, it's kind of like an outgrowth of this kind of community that we've started, and kind of like the natural progression, I think, of what happens. You get a bunch of shower pros together and they start thinking about how to go into business together. You know, I mean, that's just what we do. You know, so it seems very organic, and it really was. You know, you guys in particular, actually, Brad and Christina, were just, this is something that you had on your heart. And I said, yeah, let's do that. So it's pretty cool, man. It's a lot of fun, and we've made some serious progress so far. And I don't mind talking about this. We could talk the whole all about this. That wouldn't bother me a bit, you know. But it's open.
Well, I guess another thing too. Yeah. Another thing too that I realized when I first went to my first glass build was that shower door, I mean, there's tons of booths with shower door hardware and tempering equipment and all kinds of things, but a lot of the stuff at Glass Build is commercial and building envelope related, at least from what I've seen. And when we attended the exec forum, a lot of it is focused on commercial work and less residential shower doors, or just shower doors in general. And I feel like we all saw that the shower door manual or guidelines came out last year, which is really exciting. And that was a product of a lot of people in this group. And I just think there's so much room for more education in our field and our specific glass niche. And that's another reason I'd like to get this co-op together, is education and training and kind of pushing the NGA forward in that way, because I don't think that they've necessarily had anybody bothering them and berating them with requests. But it's me.
It's cool. Yeah, it's funny. I've probably told the story before, but I was, you know, a few years into being in business for myself, and was actually talking to another local glass shop owner. We started, you know, kind of chatting from time to time, just comparing notes, and we actually kind of kicked around the idea of going into business together, but that didn't ever develop. But during one of our conversations, we were talking about shower doors, and I was doing, we were both doing full service glass, and he said, there's enough work doing shower doors that someone could do just shower doors exclusively, and there would be enough work for that. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. And that's actually where I got the idea to become a shower door shop. It's from my competition. So see, competition's good. So, and then people would, when I would tell them what I do, they often would say, well, is there enough work doing just shower doors? And this is the answer I came up with. I said, there are companies that just do garage doors. And they're like, yeah. I said, not all houses have. So think about that. Every house has at least one bath, at least one shower. So there's definitely plenty of work for a good shower door. Man, that was one of the smartest moves I ever made in business, was just really specializing and focusing on that. When I started out, people would ask me what I did, and I would say I'm in the glass business. They'd be, oh, they had no idea what that meant. They'd be like, glass. So like, what do you like make water glasses? Do you make eyeglasses? What do you mean glass? And then you'd have to really explain, what business you were in. But when I'd say shower doors, people knew exactly what do you mean? Do you make shower doors? Do you install shower doors? Do you sell shower doors? Yes. That's what I do. Do all that. So it's a good life.
We should make merch for the group, Chris.
Merch.
Shower door life.
Yes. Well, we're working on a logo for the co-op, so I think we're getting close to having something for that. So once we've got something presentable, we'll unveil that. That'll be fun. Who knows? Maybe put it on a hat or a coffee mug or something. Sky's the limit.
Do we have a motto?
Motto.
We don't, but we talked about because I think competitions come up a lot in this, and actually legally we're not able to ever exclude competition legally in any kind of business endeavor like this, and that I think is a good thing. I know it's counterintuitive, and I know a lot of people brought that up on the call last October, but it only improves the industry in our area, and it just only makes things better. And there's a lot of sorry, you asked about a motto, but we were talking about competition, and what did Shannon say? She said, approach this from a place of, Chris, do you remember?
Abundance.
Like 2 weeks ago. Abundance, operating from abundance. Thank you. I think that is so wise. There's plenty of business to go around, like Chris was saying.
Yeah.
I believe in abundance.
I don't know that that's a motto necessarily, but operating from a position of abundance is always, good.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But yeah, that's cool. That's something to think about. A motto, kind of a mission statement. It's going to be important at some point along the line to help those sorts of things. Like kind of like nowadays, I guess it's kind of like a tagline.
Yeah. We hope to, I think I said this a couple of weeks back, but we hope to present something a little more fully in July. And then we hope to present like hard launch during glass build. So Max Perelstein is kind of looking into that for us to see how we can do that. So it's getting really real.
It is indeed. So that's something.
I saw something in the group this week that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to ask people about it, if that's okay.
Yes, please do.
Somebody had drawn a shower door with, I think it was a door panel. It was extra wide, like a wet room. And they were wondering how to support it, maybe with a transom or a header bar, but they didn't want to use a header bar. And somebody commented that, you know, the transom is helpful, but usually only in the 90-degree or neo-angle situations, not in an inline situation. And we've kind of been seeing the same thing, that it's still a wobbly system if you don't have a header. And even with a header, it can be wobbly. How are you guys supporting these big wet rooms? And how are you talking to customers about it?
Who wants to go first?
Well, Christina, remember you had a good idea that you gave Shannon with the slider bar, the round bar that you would find on a crescent. So you can use a crescent bar to span vertically and tie it into the glass and then up to the ceiling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of, it could be ugly depending on the situation. I think Shannon's might have been a specific circumstance.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, and you're asking generically because a lot of these are big and every circumstance has different solutions. And I liked that solution. I thought it was a good idea, actually. So, but
Thanks.
I've always liked carrying the panels to the ceiling if it allows for it. I think I've always liked that design. I feel comfortable with it and super secure with the installation, and I think it offers that clean, frameless look that a lot of people are ultimately looking to achieve. You know, at least over here, you start mentioning, you know, headers and support bars, and people are immediately just like turned off. And like even trying to explain the reason behind it, right? For the structural security of it, like they just don't want to hear it. You know, minimal metal. You know, if you could just float that thing in the opening and just, you know, hold it all with silicone, like we're good with that. I mean, that's kind of always been my go-to, is to carry panels high if it allows for it. That's it.
Yeah, you know, that's the first thing that I go to also. It's like, yeah, you know, bring the glass all the way to the ceiling. Because you're right, it's the cleanest look and it's the most structural, and you can do anything then, you know, it's whatever the hinges will support. Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
I think Daniel, you're muted, but you're trying to say something.
Yeah, sorry, I'm new to this stuff. I think we're good now. Yeah, typically we try to just talk them into either doing 2 fixed panels or French doors hinged off of fixed panels if we can, if they're really opposed to the header. But you know, and then obviously we have our limitations with the hinge doors off of fixed panels, but sometimes we've let them as long as they're willing. Sometimes like we'll make them sign something like saying, hey, we're not going to warranty this if the panel's over 22 inches and we're hinging a door off of it, but you're really adamant on it. We're like, okay, but you're going to sign this and say, hey, we're going to charge you for any service calls. And, you know, we try to do that, whether it's actually legit or not. But I mean, but typically we try to talk them either into 2 fixed panels, or just 1 large fixed panel, wherever they want, just whatever we can do. But that's typically what we do. And then, you know, you can only span so far with double doors and then the fixed panels, but that typically is our solution.
And then just
Thanks. That's a good one.
to kind of elaborate on this question slash topic, like, what do you got? Do you guys have like a default or a max width panel that you'll do without, like, say you have a door and a panel, just an inline panel, and like, what's your number before you'll have to or require that you tie that panel into the wall with a fixed transom? Like, are you doing like 50, 56? Like, do you guys have like a standard or kind of default number that you go with? This actually came up as a topic with me and another guy a few weeks ago. You
I'm
know,
trying
because
to
that
figure
What
out.
does the manual?
Well, I
you,
mean,
I
like
don't know if
the showers online thing basically says like 30 inches on 3/8 glass and 36 on 1/2 inch glass. And that's pretty conservative. Now, I mean, I used to really
36.
kind of,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I used to really kind of stick to that pretty closely. I mean, I would go over an inch or two from time to time, but I know like a lot of, I've kind of come around to, being a little bit more, um, you know, allowing of bigger class, and just, just have to let them know that it's really not a safety issue. I mean, until you get like ridiculous. I mean, it's, so like a 36-inch wide 3/8 panel is not dangerous. It's just wobbly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like letting them know, hey, yeah, it's going to wobble. How are you going to feel about
Are people doing, I've seen this a lot here lately in this group. We don't ever do it. These transoms that people are tying into these inline panels, is it simply to stabilize the top open corner? Is that all it's for? Because we'll go up to like 50, we'll go we'll push the limits with it, and we just have to explain to them whenever we're doing this, like, hey, this corner is going to be wobbly. It's secured with these clamps, and this top corner is going to be wobbly when you're cleaning it, but I mean, it's structurally, it's fine. And then we also give them the option, like, if you are not content with it or happy with it, we can add a stabilizer bar afterwards. That's what we do. We just kind of tell them how it's going to be, and this is their option if they want to add a stabilizer bar to it. We've never really done these transom things that I keep seeing. I'm trying to figure out what the heck they're for and what people are doing with all these transoms on their things. So I've seen it, the
They
90s. It makes sense on the 90s. I've seen that, and it kind of is ringing some bells and making sense. But the inlines, I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on.
it definitely locks the whole thing together.
Even when it's still straight across, it's still got to
Mhm.
have, I mean, it's just one more point it's tying into, really.
exactly?
But
I
that
mean, I
third
think it
point
does
is
about
so
as much
far.
as. Oh, go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, I was going to say that third point on some of those bigger panels is so far out from the mechanical fastener that once you add that little piece and connect it over to the other wall, that 28 or 30 inches above the door, I mean, it really locks it in solid. I mean, the first one I did, I was surprised at how stout it felt.
Mhm.
I mean, there was no movement whatsoever.
Mhm.
Are you taking them up higher when you do this to intentionally have clearance overhead for it? Like,
Um,
we typically go 80 to 84 inches as a quote standard for our doors. And then, you know, but if you had the piece of glass, it's kind of like having a header over your head. So I'm wondering if you take it up even higher when you're doing this.
I'll usually make my door a little shorter. Our average kind of heights around here are between 78 and 80 is pretty common, somewhere in that neighborhood. We try to stay even with a grout line for
Mhm.
aesthetics.
Yeah.
So 77 and 3/4, 78 and a quarter, usually in that neighborhood. 80, I mean, once in a while, we're up near 82. It's pretty rare that we get up to 84 in height, although I did measure 2 this week that were 84. So every now and
And
again
then,
it kind of comes around.
So how big are you making that transom piece whenever you add it to a panel that's extra wide if you're going to a height like that?
You usually make it about 4.5.
Okay, so pretty small then.
Yeah, pretty small.
Okay. Now I know.
It really
Yeah,
does make a difference. You know, there's actually a support bar you might have seen that's just a bar with two clips that spans from one panel to the other to add support. So that's actually one, you know, technique that actually adds a little bit of structure. So I mean, a piece of glass in that space will adds more for sure than that. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Dan, back when your dad and I were doing doors in the 90s and the 2000s, the frame shower door headers were at 68.5 inches. They were really short, you know?
that's right.
So, you know, now we're getting kind of accustomed to doors that are, let's say, 76 inches. And we're going, man, those are kind of short. But keep in mind that that's still a pretty tall door if you look, you know, at the past. You're not really ducking under anything. If you're taking something up 7 feet, 84 inch, and add a 5 or 6 inch header. So, you know, when we do these long spans, you know, you can even do the pivot hinges kind of like Dobmans do, and put most of the weight of the glass on the bottom. And so the transom would be supporting the top of the door, but it's not supporting a ton of weight. And it kind of helps stabilize things, I think. So, and using 1/2 inch glass, of course.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
showers are getting a lot bigger. I mean, you know, probably most of the showers we've done this last month, were big oversized, like they're 80 inches, 90 inches or more wide. And then they want them tall too. You know, they're building these giant showers. I don't know what they're doing in there.
Mhm.
Party.
I
Pinterest.
mean, I don't know. It is California, so
Well, I have one right now. And I don't know how wide this bathroom is. It's at least 15, 16 feet wide. But he's not going to span all the way across. He wants the glass to be in the middle. No support on the sides.
Mhm.
So I'm doing wings, if you will. You know how they have them in the big plates of glass in the commercial buildings where you have the support that tees off.
like a stiffener, like a glass stiffener
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Mhm.
That's a
So
good play.
doing something like that. And then in the middle, the two big panels that come together, I've got the 180 clamps, top and bottom, and then a solid towel bar that will also bridge from panel to panel, and use a solid towel bar to do that. So kind of tying it in several places. But it will be suspended. It's not going to the ceiling. The ceiling's real high anyway. So yeah, we're becoming engineers, really, you know, trying to figure out how the heck do you support stuff, and we're doing it on a case by case basis. I mean, it's extremely custom.
Now, the wings that you're doing, are you doing them just on one side of those large panels, or are you teeing them at the ends, if I'm understanding it correctly?
Actually, it's going to be teed towards the ends. It's kind of this. You'd have to see it all on paper, because there's a toilet on the far left, and actually, I am going to put a door on that wall because we're going to do a privacy door. But so there's a panel that comes from there over to where my structure is. It's gonna tee into another piece that the front of that piece is gonna be going across the entire stand. And then there's gonna be another wing. And then another piece that's teeing off of that. So, I mean, I'd have to draw it out. Actually, in Smart Builder wouldn't even draw it. And I even called them to get help. And they said it couldn't be done on, their software. I did come up with something I showed him. He's an engineer. He's gonna put on CAD and make it look pretty, but yeah, he can do it.
It can't be done.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah. So
What do you guys say to customers who have like heated tile?
So I was actually going to ask a question about that. I just measured one the other day, and it's a curbless shower, and the tile in the shower space is black, and then it transitions to a white tile as it gets a little bit away from the shower pan. But the transition is about 8 inches outside the pan. And he was adamant about having the glass die onto that transition point, but it's outside the pan, and he's got heated floors and heated tiles in the bathroom, and I wasn't able to get diagrams or anything of the wiring. I checked with the contractor. I also reached out to the tile guy to see if he had any pictures or whatnot. And he had asked me if I had a thermal gun that I could shoot at it and check. And I don't have one, and I don't know much about them. And I was gonna ask you guys, if any of you guys have used them, recommend a certain brand, make, model. But what I ended up telling this guy was that I could that I'm not going to use clamps on the bottom of the shower. We'll use channel, and I'll drill a couple of small, shallow holes to not penetrate through the tile completely and not break the water barrier and or come in contact with any wires or anything that's down there. That was my solution on this particular shower.
Did you just cut the screw down shorter in place of that too? If you're still screwing the channel down, and just shorten the length of your screws for the clamps?
We have some 1 inch and 3/4. We even have some 5/8 screws that we use to secure that down in lieu of the screws that come with the clamps, which actually that idea I had gotten from Brad and Christina, who had spoke about it once before on a previous call.
Yeah, when we run into that, we just break the screws off with some couple sets of wrenches, and we'll just break them down shorter and shorten them up.
Yeah, I understand that you can rent one of those cameras from like Home Depot.
Really?
That's what somebody said, that you can rent one.
Huh. Okay.
That's the
good
thing
to
to
know.
do, because they're expensive.
I've never even thought about that, like a tool rental.
Right. It never occurred to me either.
Huh.
But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, as much as or as little as we use one. Yeah, you go rent one, and then it takes the guesswork out of it. But I think you've got a good solution there. Just kind of try to avoid drilling as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we try to avoid drilling downward through the curb and everything as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we really don't. If we're using channel, we really don't use screws. So just glue it down. That's really, you've got all the weight of the glass there, and there's some pretty good. You can use VHB tape, use epoxy, silicone, combination of all those things. And,
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon for us to screw our channel down too. If it's under a certain width, we will, because it tends to kind of twist and teeter.
I know what you
Um, yeah, but these panels are pretty big, and the one I'm planning on screwing down, at least putting one screw in.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes you can also add a little put a little silicone. If like you've got a vertical channel, whatever, you could put some little dabs of silicone in there before you set the glass. That way, if the seal at the bottom ever did break for some reason, glass still can't come loose.
Mm.
So, but I mean, a shower is really like, fortunately, I've really never had any emergencies, but it's indoors. There's no like wind loads, there's like water hitting it. That's about it. I mean, someone could, people talk about, yeah, what if I fell over, hit the glass? It's like, have you ever walked into a patio door?
Mhm. You're going down before the glass, sure.
Yeah, that's like
Right.
quarter-inch glass, I mean, you bounce right off of it. It's
Yeah,
hard to get much momentum up in the shower, bounce off of glass. But I know people can do it. What were you gonna say, Christina?
yeah, I just had a couple crazy requests today, and one of them was like and there are solutions, but 134 inches wide, rose gold hardware
Wow.
in so it's a wet room, and the floors are coiled, have heated coils in them inside the shower and outside the shower. So thankfully the contractor called in and gave us blueprints before even starting the demo, so we could kind of talk through these considerations. But I'll look at the channel option. I hadn't actually considered that, and I was just like, how are we gonna support this thing? But I think if he's open to a header bar, channel, half-inch glass, all that jazz, I think we can make it work with some French doors. But I guess that freaks me out from the pivot hinge on the bottom. Like, we really have to drill there.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to avoid that.
You can use your
Yeah.
shorter screws in that bottom pivot though, because it's not going anywhere. You put a little
That's true.
silicone underneath it too. It holds solid. Yeah.
It's strictly shear, right? I mean, it's not the length of the screw really isn't doing anything, because you don't need to hold it down, because the weight's going to hold it down. You just need to keep it from twisting. And
Twisting.
yeah, so you're right. Shorter screw is fine there, in my humble opinion.
Okay. And we had another one. What do you guys do on fiberglass stalls? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Everyone does different stuff, or won't do them, or whatever. But
What, for a door?
yeah, like if
What do you
somebody
think,
calls
Tim?
you and says,
You really can't hang a heavy door off a fiberglass stall. There's no backing in it.
I think
right.
she means just the pan, right?
Oh,
You don't
pan.
mean the surround.
oh no, I
think.
mean the surround. What do you guys do?
Oh.
Do you offer semi-frameless? Do you offer
Semi-frameless.
a header over the stall? Like, what do you offer?
Semi-frameless. Semi-frameless.
So we don't do semi-frameless hinge pivot doors. So it's like, it would be a header solution. Or, if there's wood, I mean, if there is wood blocking, you can hang a door there.
No.
Another solution is pivots. It's like a pivot,
Pivot with a header.
yeah.
The only problem is you know that your header wants to rock if you're only in sheetrock, and the sheetrock's up above.
Yeah, that's true.
So, it's like, if somebody's willing to add a row of tiles around the top, and you got a guy, some tile guys that are don't mind small jobs. They could go do that for several $100, you know, $300-400. Add tiles up above the fiberglass stall, then you could put a header in there, and yeah, that works.
Speaking of
Those fiberglass stalls were never tall enough for
Yeah,
a normal,
that's true.
semi-flameless.
semi-frameless is always a fun topic to discuss with our homeowners too, because what do you guys consider semi-frameless? We consider an Alumax door that's frameless on 3 sides to be semi-frameless, and that's it.
Yep.
You know, that's a semi-frameless door for us, you know, so it's a very fun topic to discuss with homeowners. What is semi-frameless, and also sometimes with builders, what the heck semi-frameless is always that a door with a header and pivot hinges is a semi-frameless door. We just tell them that it's just another way to install a frameless shower door. You know, it's just another application method of a frameless shower door, you know. So we have to educate, we have to educate them a lot on what a semi-frameless door is, which I don't know, you mentioned earlier something about a shower door manual, you know, and knowledge of shower door stuff. This is something that I think is always a question.
Yeah, the design and
NGA has
installation
the
guide. Yeah, go ahead, Christina.
Oh, you'll know better than I will, but the design and installation manual, it's on the NGA's website. It came out last year, and a number of people in this call, including Chris, right?
Yes,
I think Shannon,
Shannon,
Bill Dobman.
right?
I am not naming everybody, but they're all in the manual, and they are, you know, they know what they're talking about, and that's really been helpful for us. So highly recommend going to get that at the NGA website.
I wrote that down. What is the NGA website essentially? Without me going to it right now while we're on this call.
What is it? nga.org?
Yep.
Glassville, America now?
That's a pretty short
Glass.com,
URL.
I don't know.
Oh no, that's not it.
Isn't Glassville,
So-
America
It's not it. It's not NGA. That's
So this is what the manual looks like. Right there.
And you guys use that a lot for product education for the customers and stuff like that?
It's our guide how to do it right.
Yeah, that.
We bring it out when
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
we just bring it out when a homeowner wants to dispute something with us, as kind of a backup. It's pretty rare, but if somebody's like, well, I don't want clamps on the bottom, and my tile guy said you can't drill into the bottom, and it's like, well, actually, you know, these guidelines have some recommendations, and here's how we combat that, and it opens up the door for better conversations with the homeowner, and also gives them more confidence about your abilities because you're educated within the guidelines of the industry monster, which is the NGA, the National Glass Association.
Yeah, we use it for the same purpose. And it also is, it's pretty rare that we have to break it out, but it gives you a stronger leg to stand on when you're trying to explain the design and everything to certain people.
Oh man, Joe. He doesn't talk, but he doesn't like being muted. It's funny. Yeah, you know, a good way to explain the whole frameless thing, because you're correct, Daniel, like whether it's U channel or it has a header or whatever, if it's 3/8 glass or thicker, it's considered frameless. So really frameless is synonymous with heavy glass. So if it's, I mean, 3 or 5/16, you know, that's kind of like on the borderline, right? But it can be considered frameless. But so if it's a 1/4 inch, you know, there's really no frameless 1/4 inch glass enclosure. So it's getting people to understand, because they think, well, that channel is a frame. That channel is not a frame. The header is not a frame. The channel is not a frame. It's a frameless shower. You know, some of them have channel, some of them have clips. You know, some of them have headers. but they're
But
they're all frameless.
perception. It's their perception.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing. And they see the stuff on Pinterest, glass floating in thin air. That's what I want.
Mhm.
And it doesn't make sense. So, you know, but I agree. I mean, actually, Chris, that was a really good point, though. It is synonymous with heavy glass doors. And back when these doors first became popular in the earlier 90s, or when they first started out, I should say, that's really one of the terms for it was heavy glass doors.
Mhm.
I don't hear that as much anymore, but it is synonymous.
European
So I like that
was
explanation.
another word. European shower doors.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've heard him referred to like that.
Well, and the reason I asked about fiberglass and it's kind of the framelessness as well is I had a lady call me today. She definitely wants the most frameless possible enclosure on her fiberglass stall on a houseboat in polished brass.
On a houseboat.
And so I'm thinking, oh, I know I can't offer semi-frameless because I really can't get that in polished brass anymore or ever really. And then you know, she doesn't want the header bar and it's on a houseboat. And I'm like, what considerations do I need to think about for all of that? You know, does it need a latch? Like
We're
an
not
RV? Like what? I mean,
recommend Noble Glass in Beaufort, Georgia.
oh, hey.
That is always the
That's
best
kind of-
solution. Send those customers down the road. We
Wow.
like to just stick with our standards and tell them this is how we'll do it. And a lot of times they'll just respect that, hey man, this guy's not budging. This is obviously the solution. And if they don't want it, there's more customers out there. Next.
That's right.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny. We
Well,
had
and
one.
she said that. Go ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say, you know, we had one customer today one potential that we lost, and we always circle back and say, hey, what do we do? You know, what do we do? We want to know why we lost them. They said, oh, we got it cheaper. It was a Cambridge, and they said, oh, we got it for $1,800. So I was like, wow, man, that could only be somebody doing a side job. I mean, there's no way that like a reputable glass shop could do. I mean, because the materials are like almost that. So somebody like materials plus $100, you know.
I like what Keith was saying one day. I watched one of his videos and he was talking about not discounting your work, which is very true because like if you've ever discounted your work, it just seems like you just don't honestly care about them as much because you're already mad that you discounted the work and then you have problems and it just all piles up and you don't get them the service that you're supposed to give them that you know you can. And that's another good reason why you stand on what you're doing and you don't discount it and you don't deviate from your standards because then you're going to be frustrated every time you have to go service it or because you chose to say yes to something you should have said no to or you know that's another good reason. But he had a nice video talking about that, which was very true.
Yeah, those are the jobs that something always goes wrong on too. It's like the one that you didn't charge enough. It's like clockwork.
Every time.
Oh,
or the ones that are in a hurry and they need it real soon. The ones that want to know when you're going to do it before you even know when you're going to get it. And you tell them something, and then that's the one that you have something back ordered on for sure.
Yeah. They make it wrong 3 times.
Yeah.
So
compensation for their convenience.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh man. So true. So yeah, you make a good point, Daniel. I mean, it's like it's just really not worth it, just to pick up, it's like the race to the bottom is not the race you want to win, be like, and then what you get, like when I first started out, I was hungry and it's like why, really wanted it bad. There'd always be the guys like, oh yeah, I've got lots, do this one for cheap, because I've got more coming, and then what I learned was is like they wanted me to do it cheap for the promise of more cheap work.
And
It's like,
you lose the opportunity to do a job at a margin and a rate that you actually want to do, that you'll be happy to do. So you take a job at less margin to do less quality, and you're missing the opportunity to do the one you really wanted to do.
yeah, absolutely. And it's
You're
just
not really losing anything.
and it's just not good for you, just like psychically, it's just not good for you, I mean, it does make you feel good about yourself. Like you're saying, it doesn't make you feel good about your work or even the customer, and end up with resentment, end up in therapy. You could end up spending more in therapy than you would have made.
This is
Therapy is
our
when we
therapy,
throw
Chris.
therapy is when we throw mismeasured or wrong pieces of glass into the dumpster. That's our therapy. Break them and watching them explode.
Yeah, feels good. What else? 1 minute. Anybody got one last word of wisdom before we go? All right. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything. You guys did good already. You brought plenty. Thanks a lot for showing up. It's always good to see you. It's like, it's like a habit or something. All right. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
All right.
Good night,
Yeah.
everybody.